And welcome back to the Emerging Growth Conference. Just a little update, the Lomiko Metals, we had technical difficulty with that, but we will be inviting them on to present again in the next few weeks. So please welcome our next company. We have Global Cannabis Applications Corp. It trades on the OTC Pink sheets under the symbol FUAPF, as well as on the CSE under the symbol APP. It is a global leader in designing, developing, SaaS licensing, and acquiring innovative data technologies for the medical cannabis industry. Please welcome its CEO, Brad Moore, and Brian Collins. Welcome, gentlemen.
Morning.
Howdy.
Thanks for having us.
All right, the floor is yours whenever you're ready.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Hannah. So good morning, everybody. My name is Brad Moore. I'm the CEO of GCAC. I was just, I think I've got to talk to marketing. Brian, we need to shorten that description of what we do. That's a mouthful, man. That's, sure. I think there's probably an easier way. Actually, for everybody listening in, if you haven't heard me say this before, I'll tell you really what we are. We're a blockchain company with a cannabis problem. And that at the end of the day, that's what we're here to talk about. Our objectives and our goals is there's a gap. There's a gap in data out there. And one of the challenges is that you're putting an actual plant in your body. You're not using a formulation, you're putting a plant. And so that comes from that, there is this huge data gap. And while we theoretically, or I should say anecdotally, know that it's good for you and it can do a lot of great things, the problem that we have is if you can't measure, it's not real. It's like anything in life. It's got to be able to be measured. And so I'm very delighted to have our technology partner, Brian Collins from Abbey Technology on board with us. Brian is originally, I think he technically is still an Irishman, but he's an Irishman living in Switzerland, right? That's why he's got all those fancy Ferrari pictures behind him, right? Because he can do that in Switzerland.
I bought them new, but they're like 100 years old.
Excellent. So listen, one of the things, I was on here before, it was a great forum for us. We were really excited when we got invited back. One of the things we want to do and talk about, if you've been following our company under the OTC under FUAPF and under the CSE under APP, you'll seen a lot of news. Like we've actually, I think, Brian, had 15, 16, maybe even 17 material press releases out since last August. We're a company on the move. And one of the most exciting press releases that we did was where we got engaged with a program that Brian's company provided to us, a marketing program called CrossFi. And so we want to talk to everybody today about what CrossFi is. In my humble opinion, it's the great equalizer for everything to do with a startup company. I can tell you as the CEO of this pubco since 2016 and seen the shift in the cannabis and going through all those trials and trying to build something and raise capital and, meet expectations at many levels, including the market. It's very tough for a small company to do. And you know what? One of the things you do is you collect a lot of baggage as you go along, and that tends to show up on your balance sheet, unfortunately. And one of the things that we have to do is when you finally get ready to break out and make your mark, you're trying to put the company forward in the best light. And, it's a little bit about that, and it's a lot about a lot of other things. But one of the key things that I felt when Brian approached me about this was what a great way to carry the message of what we do to a new group of investors who actually happen to be our same, they are the recipient of the benefits of cultivators using our technology. And so much to my pleasure, Brian and I were very excited to be last week on with Prohibition's Partners, where we were headlining. We ran a masterclass showing everybody actually a demo of the product. Anybody who's interested in getting that, reach out to me directly at bmore@cannabiscorp.com. We'll be happy to send that video over to you. And more importantly, if you're a cultivator, we're happy to do a demo for you. You should really take a look at how this can change your business. And then one of the like I said, when Brian and I, when the opportunity came for emerging growth, and Brian and I talked to Brian about it, we said, I want to tell everybody about what you've done at Abbey Technology with CrossFi. I think it's just absolutely fabulous, and you'll see how it's actually reflected into my business. And so, to that end, I'll turn it over to Mr. Collins. We're going to take you through a slideshow here, folks. It's a very simple. It's going to have a lot of nice round table conversation around it, and away we go.
Thanks, Brad. Just to reiterate on that top level, the top line of what Brad is accomplishing here is he's a blockchain company in the cannabis space, and one of the key use cases for blockchain in the world today is decentralized finance. You're probably aware of it, any of you who are au fait at all with blockchain. And it's an obvious target for us to look at such companies, such business verticals, to allow exposure to cannabis companies, blockchain companies in the blockchain space. Right now, Brad is exposed. He's got hundreds of shareholders on his CSE and his OTC markets shareholder list. But why not look for shareholders who are also in the blockchain space, who perhaps may not be able to open a brokerage account in Canada or in North America, who may be interested in medical cannabis from Ireland, from Chile, from Panama. Those folks are still legitimate investors, people who are really with fingers on pulses about the cannabis business, reading Brad's unbelievably good press releases. And that's where, for me and for our team, is where we really want to bring in the decentralized finance folks and raise awareness amongst that group of traders, investors, interested parties, some crazy speculators too. But look, there's all sorts of people in the blockchain space. But we also feel as if there's, hundreds, if not thousands, of very interested people in Brad's story, as evidenced by the fact that his stock is up 1,000% in 6 months. Folks around the world who might be interested in learning more and working with Brad and introducing cannabis cultivation technologies that use blockchain for truth. Why not bring these people on? And I think that's ultimately where CrossFi is coming. So I'm not sure, Brad, can you see the slideshow, or who's going to put up the slideshow?
There we go. Can you see that, Brian? We're on the slide 2 now.
Okay, just go to slides. Gotcha. Yeah. So really, in our world, how does it work? This is really what we wanted to do. How do you bring people in that are outside, if you like, on the traditional stock brokerage realm? Well, you do it using automated market makers, basically decentralized exchanges, so DEX they're referred to as, and we create effectively what behaves like a security to all intents and purposes on a decentralized exchange. And well, why would you do that? Well, it gives you exposure if you're a blockchain person, and we have forward thinkers and people like Brad who will say, look, how do we embrace these folks? And I said, well, embrace it using a marketing campaign, raise awareness. It's about raising awareness of how wonderful your company is. So how would we go about that? And I said, well, why don't you commit a certain percentage of your sales, a minimum percentage of your sales? And then basically, Brad said, okay, let's do that. Let's go with that route. So Brad is now committed to pay 1% of his sales to Abbey, because we're a facilitator on this side of things. But in effect, we're a zero-cost facilitator on this basis. People who pay Abbey, next week, Brad, your numbers come out. So when his numbers come out next week, 1% of his top line, as a minimum, will go and we will buy tokens on the Uniswap exchange, so a decentralized exchange. What happens on these decentralized exchanges, that's really where CrossFi lives. It's a token that sits there versus a trading pair. And the trading pair in this scenario is ETH, the cryptocurrency of the Ethereum blockchain. So when Brad sends money in, let's say Brad puts in $1,000 worth of ETH, then he's going to buy $1,000 worth of those tokens. And automated market making in these decentralized exchanges, as with any other system with a buy-side demand, means the sell price goes up. So that's just the nature of the beast. So the more Brad's top line increases, the more buybacks he will be doing. And this is really important. What does that do? Well, if the company's sales are growing, well, then the company's token price is growing alongside them. So you're very much in line, in lockstep, really, with traditional investors. Brad's great shareholders that he has today on his CSE stock and his American stock, they are all also in lockstep with Brad, waiting on his numbers, investing in his company using traditional methods. Now other folks, hundreds of people already, like we're well over 300 people already, have bought tokens. There's hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of tokens already purchased in this ecosystem. That just gives you an idea of like little or no marketing behind what Brad and I have done here. And hundreds of people have put hundreds of thousands of dollars into this project without fully coming to terms with these discussions. They don't even know roughly what we're going to talk about here today. So I think that's a really, that's a huge upside potential, I feel, on what CrossFi can offer public companies, especially public companies in the blockchain space. So it allows Brad really to be able to embrace a brand new set of people. And the more people that embrace him, there is another side to this. It's not all about the upside for those decentralized finance folks, is that when they embrace this technology and embrace this marketplace, they too will go and buy GCAC tokens. Well, once they buy GCAC tokens, what do they also do? Of course, that forces the price up as well. And Brad has 100,000 of those tokens on his balance sheet. So by folks like 300-400 people now buying this token and brought the price up, Brad, like very cleverly, bought his tokens at 20 cents each. They're trading at $16, $15 now. So they're up 100x nearly already, from people just buying into this token. So Brad's balance sheet has increased on that particular purchase for his contribution there has gone up as well. So that's where CrossFi is a real win-win. Right, so Brad basically is able to engage with lots of new people out there who are really interested in his company and are going around telling all their friends. And then on the other side, Brad is getting the upside from those folks driving demand of that token on the exchange. So Brad, I think it's a real win-win, in my opinion, on your side.
It's been incredible. It's been incredible for a couple of reasons, right? Like, look, so just for everybody, this is probably one of the first times, I think it's the first time, maybe I had one before. I'm probably one of those guys that had a e-wallet, Brian, and I've lost the code and I had half a Bitcoin in there or something. So I think there's probably about $24,000 missing out of my wallet, my bank sheet, my balance sheet, my own personal balance sheet. But, listen, look, I'm very much was down the public route and viewed it this way and saw the constraints and the tools I had to work with. And I appreciated that. When Brian approached me about this, he said, we can spread the message. And he explained how it worked from a regulatory point of view, that it was his token. This is a marketing that we are basically, marketing our name through this token. It got very exciting for me. Because, once again, that millennial target base uses crypto and they use cannabis. And we did a lot of research around that before we went down, because even though the initial investment was only $20,000, that has just paid off at incredible levels, it's still $20,000 that we had to be accountable for. So once we saw that we could do this, I got really excited. The construct of the 1% buyback is incredible. Now, I'll tell you why, as a startup, it's incredible to me. I run on very great. I have 65% margins in my business. I have an incredible, being a SaaS business. I've made my investment. I've sunk those costs. I run a very lean ship. We have a very great business margin. The 1% of the top line revenue as I'm building is almost, it's like peanuts. So for example, if I do an install, somebody gives me $12,500 for the setup fee. I do a 1%, it's $125. Well, here's the thing, because I have that great margin, I can invest anything more than 1%. And as Brian said, I can't imagine a place where just to go out, spend 20 grand to get 300 new shareholders, 300 new people talking about it, 300 new people knowing about it. I've got guys from Canada that were shareholders of APP that were Canadians that are also now token shareholders. One guy called me, he goes, I'm up $10,000. It's an incredible story. And the fact is that generates more excitement. And yes, I want more people to come in. I want to see that asset raised, because for me, that shows, if Elon showed us anything in all his, let's say, antics about how he views things, is that you can put it on the balance sheet. And so like I said, going back to that, as we struggle and you can't rush deals, you've got to sell how you have to sell. You got to sell properly. It takes time. But you know what? Part of the validation of this company is when you look at the numbers, it's the revenue and it's the balance sheet, and the asset component makes up a large portion of that. So our ability to add that to it was incredible. Look, I was looking at uplisting requirements, because we used to be uplisted on the we weren't on the Pinks, we were on the QB, and I was looking at the asset requirements, and at one point the token, I think, Brian, was over close to $30 US.
That's crazy.
And that's like it's $3 million US. And I go, holy smokes. And I checked with some people in finance. I go, does this mean that I qualify for the QX listing from an asset? And they gave me a wink and a nod, but apparently it looks like it might meet that asset requirement. I was not qualified to have that conversation by any sense. So when I call it the great equalizer, it's been it's changed the nature. I actually, for everybody that's out there, we're out trying to raise all this money, doing this under this incredible, downward pressure of stock pressure and all this stuff. And I said, you know what? I don't need to do that. I closed a PP because I now have an asset on the books. I have a different position of strength. And that's where the company's done it. And the construct that I reinvest what I earn as a way of a statement is probably the coolest thing I've seen. You know what it does is it brings the compliancy regulatory component that we're used to in the public markets, right, Brian? And it provides the DeFi community, and it validates for them. So it's not all just, rainbows and roses and guessing. They can actually see as it goes along.
And Brad, it's a quarterly investment thesis, in effect. Every quarter, you're investing in yourself. By a buyback, you're driving the value of your asset because you have 100,000 tokens on your balance sheet. You're driving the price of the tokens in the marketplace. You're raising awareness. Any security that goes up in value, or any token that goes up in value, raises awareness amongst their holders. So whether it's shareholders on the CSE or token holders on a decentralized exchange like Uniswap or PancakeSwap, you're now effectively investing in yourself every quarter. So for every $5,000 you spend, do you put more than $5,000 value on your balance sheet? Well, today we're pretty certain that it will, as you'll see in the demo in a moment, or I'll do a little video playback of the demo, is that when you put money into these tokens, when you actually apply your buyback onto these tokens, their price goes up. You've got 100,000 of them. So if you put in 5,000 and your value goes up, and you buy back enough tokens that put 10,000 worth of value on your balance sheet, why would you spend the 5,000? It makes no sense. Who else
100%.
can acquire assets at that rate? It's incredible,
100%. Now, that doesn't mean just for the folks in emerging growth. It doesn't mean that we won't be doing things like this. But what it does do is that we definitely want to be telling people about this. It crosses the great divide, folks. And that's what I'm super excited about. It's something tangible. It meets the premise of GAAP. My CFO, once he got his head wrapped around it, he goes, this is pretty good, right? And once again, it's a marketing campaign. I'm just reinvesting. So listen, we want to get some questions. We want to run you a quick video so you can actually see it in action. So Brian's going to screen share now, and then we'll take some, in the last few minutes, we'll take some questions from anybody interested in asking them.
So, should be able to see my screen. You see it, Brad?
Yep, you're just spooling up.
Yeah. So what you see here is us going on to Etherscan, where we find the token. So we punch in GCSE and we find the token. We grab its address. This is how, those of you who haven't seen blockchain in action, this is how blockchain works. Everything is addresses and wallets. We take that address and we put it into Uniswap, which is basically a stock exchange for all intents and purposes. Then we can go in with that token. So we're now selecting our ticker, in effect. This is what we would all do if we were just trading on Robinhood or something equivalent. And now we punch in how much money we want to spend. And that is really the crux of this. If you look at, Brad is now going to put in this scenario here, you put in one ETH at the time was $2,453. So that's a buyback of that amount. So to see what it will get you as a value, then that one ETH will buy you a certain number of tokens. So therefore you have a live marketplace with an automated market maker. So I wanted to just show you how that whole system kind of runs through, that you're able to actually just go in, put in a ticker. Anybody can do this. You don't have to open accounts. You don't have to do anything. This is decentralized finance. So you come in, you pick your security, you punch in its ticker. In this case, we're punching it as an address, and then you just put in your money. So any trader out there just does this, right? So this is exactly, instead of calling your stockbroker, this is what you do instead. And now anybody on the Uniswap side just comes in with their ETH and does this. Brad also does this. So when Brad does this, you see that this 1% or this one token buy is going to bring the price up by 2.3%. Here's the very same system on the Binance chain. So this is another exchange using the same, it's the address, the same technologies, ultimately just on a different blockchain. The difference between Binance chain and Ethereum is effectively gas fees for our discussion here. So if we now come into PancakeSwap, which is what it's called, and you punch in, their native currency is BNB. Again, you punch in your address, you grab your ticker symbol, and then you do your buyback. Effectively, you now buy some shares. There you go. You're going to buy one. And at this point, you're going to move the share price by 1.21%. So that's basically how the whole system hangs together. I just want to walk people through about the simplicity of how this whole ecosystem actually works. You can now become a brand new shareholder of this token, in effect, and buying into the excitement of Brad's company by clicking a few mouse buttons here. Really, it's that simple. No accounts, no nothing. Just very, very straightforward solution.
Yeah, and the net, like I said, and for everybody out there, we'll take some questions now. The net end result of this whole thing, everyone, is, and what was super exciting is this ended up resulting as us actually being more financially stable, more fiscally viable. It allowed us to kind of move forward, have to not worry about good money, bad money, and let the company breathe, right, Brian? And
Absolutely.
move forward. So if you're in this space and you're a publicly traded company and you're trying to get your feet underneath, you should definitely reach out to Brian over at Abbey Technology. Go to me. If you're a cultivator, we've got some cool plans for you about this kind of stuff. You need to come talk to me because A, you should be using my software, and B, we can help you because we know what it's like for cultivators to try to raise capital too. So to that point, I'd love to take any questions if we have some time. I'm just trying to find out where we would see the questions.
Got some time. I can ask them for you guys so you guys can answer.
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay. Someone asked, they said they saw you on your last appearance at the Emerging Growth Conference, and they want to know what's new. What has happened since your last appearance here?
Well, this has happened. I think this is a pretty big thing. What day was that? And I'm getting too old for these questions. And when Brian doesn't even let me do math on these things anymore when I'm explaining things. So let alone trying to figure out, a lot's happened. The company continues to grow. We're adding more deals. We're just on, what we said. Listen, we had a very directed pathway about, we had to build a brand. This is what we do from a technology point has not been done. That's why we have a patent on it. It hasn't been done. And so we went at Prohibition Partners, and I can tell you, we, if you attended Prohibition Partners, if you were in the industry, you couldn't miss us, Anna. Like, we were everywhere. We had streaming video ads everywhere. We had master classes. I was on roundtables with doctors. And from that, once again, our pipeline is getting fuller and fuller and fuller. More deals are closing. And so, and then I think most importantly that came out of it, what we have is, we've done CrossFi. Like, we have essentially from like 4 or 5 years of being a pubco, we've cleaned up the balance sheet like that. It's incredible. Go to cannabiscorp.com. Please go to cannabiscorp.com, go under investors, and just start scrolling through the press releases. You can't miss them. I think we do 2 a month, 2 material press releases a month. So there you go.
Lots of questions about CrossFi. So what is your outlook for the CrossFi investment as far as hold time? Is it a long-term investment?
Well, the minimum commitment here, sorry, Brad, just for a second, the minimum commitment as per the press as well, Anna, it's a 2-year, a minimum of 2-year buybacks. Really, based on the success for the first month, I can't see it ever ending. But that's Brad's call, clearly. But just so you know that it is a 2-year minimum. So there'll be at least 8 quarters of buyback. And so, go ahead, Brad, so you can take the rest of it.
Yeah, 100%. Listen, I said it before. If you think that, look, if I bring in, for example, a list grant, we have a certain amount of obviously publicly raised funds right now that we're living off as we move into revenue. Reinvesting, Anna, that into the asset that helps create a better balance sheet. So as I move forward into further rounds of finance for expansion and growth, most importantly, always expansion and growth, it would be insane for me as a CEO not to take advantage of this in the most aggressive way possible. 1% is the minimum commitment that we will put into this. I can't for an investment of $2-3 to build up that asset as we move forward, to make sure that part of the company is solid. And so we're always looking forward. Yeah, we're going to keep doing this until we can't do it anymore. And we'll just, like I said, just keep your eyes open and we'll go from there.
Is CrossFi going to trade on any other exchanges?
Uniswap and PancakeSwap, those are the 2 with automated market makers in it that are well understood by the crypto community, and by far the largest liquidity pools in the world, in such a scenario. So just those 2. We're not contemplating, Abby is a technology firm, we're not contemplating writing smart contracts or any other standard at the moment.
Well, thank you guys for this presentation. There are some more questions, but we're going to send those directly to you so you can answer them directly to your viewers. And we hope that you'll join us again on our conference, because this is exciting news to follow up with. So thank you both for your time and your presentation.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Anna.
All right. Well, stick with us. We've got some more presentations coming up in just a second. Remember, as we transition, you're going to see a black screen, but stay with us. We'll pop right back on in just a minute.